like millennials are constantly saying that like Gen Z doesn't know anything about like how they lived in their teenage years, and they don't know anything about how they dressed or how they lived or what was popular, what music they listened to, etc. But then it's like, if a Gen Z likes the 2000s aesthetics, and they like dressing like it's 2009 or 2005 or whatever, then they're mad about that too. So it's like, and I'm not saying all millennials, like, I don't think that at all. I mean, my parents are millennials, my therapist is a millennial, I know people that are millennials. I mean, I was born in 2002, so, and Gen Z started in 96, so, and that's another thing, like, you could literally be born, you could have someone that was born in 95, and someone that was born in 96, and one's gonna be a millennial, one's gonna be a Gen Z, and they're only a year apart. So, depending on what year you were born, there's not always that. Sorry guys, I accidentally muted the mic. There's not always going to be that much of a difference. I think that, and also, like, it depends on, it depends on, like, who you grew up around. What were you allowed to watch? What did you like? Like, for instance, my sister was born in 2007, and she knows a lot more about 2000s culture than I would say a lot of people her age typically do, because she was around me. And when you have an older sibling, you're going to be exposed to a lot more of a variety of music and TV shows and just different things, than if you don't, in my opinion. And obviously we were born in the same generation, but there still is a big difference in that 5-year period, but we had similar childhoods because we grew up together, and she was watching a lot of the same things I did, etc. But yeah, I just think that a lot of millennials are just really dramatic about people liking 2000s fashion. Like, I'm not talking about the people that are joking about it. I'm talking about the people that are genuinely, like, in people's TikTok comments saying, ew, that's so ugly. Like, oh my god, that's so ugly. Please don't bring that back. Like, re-retire that for a reason. You're giving me PTSD. And these people are dead ass serious. Like, they're not joking. And it's like, no one's asking you to wear it. You know what I mean? No one's asking you to wear it. If you don't like it, then, like, okay, obviously that's why you moved on from dressing like that, but why is it an issue for you if other people like it? And also, like, yes, 2000s fashion has come back here and there, but I don't think it's come back as much as people are acting like it has. Like, I've seen the chunky shoes, and I've seen some low-rise jeans. I've seen, like, butterfly clips, things here and there, but it's not like it's ever gonna be what it was. So, like, people just need to calm down. You know what I mean? Like, it's not ever going to be what it was. And also, I don't get why people are projecting their insecurities on other people either. It's like, no, we got rid of low-rise jeans for a reason. Like, those just, nobody looks good in low-rise jeans, etc. And it's like, okay, I don't even know what to say to that, because it's like, okay, if you are insecure about the way that your midsection looks and you don't want to wear low-rise jeans, okay, that's fine. But why are you saying everybody looks bad in low-rise jeans when that's clearly not true? And also, I think that anybody should be able to still wear low-rise jeans. I don't think that you should have to have a perfectly flat stomach to wear low-rise jeans, and I think that it kind of sucks that even in 2024 we still live in a society where, you know, it's like we have to be a specific body type to wear a specific style of jeans or a dress or whatever. And it's like, why haven't we moved past that? Why haven't we moved past that? I am a tiny person, but I definitely do not have a flat stomach. I am bloated all the time because I have this motility in my GI tract, and basically, I mean, that's kind of a broad term. I might have some level of gastroparesis. I might have Crohn's disease. It hasn't been confirmed. I've seen, where was I going with that? I need to, my allergist referred me to a GI doctor that I need to see, and I probably need to get like an endoscopy done, colonoscopy, all of that, which I'm terrified of it, but I'm not gonna talk about that. But I'm just saying, like, I don't have a perfectly flat stomach, because I have GI issues that, you know, are kind of generalized, haven't really been figured out yet, and, you know, I shouldn't have to feel like I can't wear low-rise jeans just because I don't have a flat stomach, and it's hard to feel confident in your body wearing an outfit that everybody is saying that you shouldn't be wearing, you know what I mean? So I feel like we shouldn't be projecting our insecurities onto other people. We shouldn't be telling anybody that they can't wear something, because, you know, of whatever reason. So, I mean, that's just frustrating to me. What else can I talk about? What else? Why I am filming this in my bed. It has been a month, and even that is putting it lightly. I have not been able to stop crying for probably like a week straight. I'm not gonna get into like what happened, but me and my family are just going through a really difficult time right now. Major change, and I think that out of everybody, I've been the one that's not necessarily taken it the hardest, but it does kind of feel that way. But I don't want to say that because, you know, I don't want to invalidate what anybody else in my family is going through or out there taking it. I just, you know, obviously we are with ourselves every day, and, you know, even if you line up a bunch of people that are going through the exact same thing, it's going to affect everyone differently and to different levels. This past year has been really difficult in general. And, you know, I was finally starting to feel like myself again, a little bit, you know, like slowly but surely, and then, you know, things took a turn for the worst, and, you know, in a way that is just worse than anything that's happened in the past before. And so, you know, I've looked like total shit. I haven't had any motivation to film. My eyes have been swollen from crying so much. it's wait, no, that part, that was something else. Sorry. Basically, the company that my therapist works for, because she doesn't have a private practice, she works through a company that has a lot of different clinicians, but she can't see patients more than once a week. Like, that's the whole company policy. They don't do more than once a week. And also insurance. My insurance is not gonna allow me to have to see my therapist twice a week, even if she did. Like, even if she was able to see her clients more than once a week, that would not be an option on my end, because my insurance wouldn't pay for it, and I could not afford to pay out of pocket for that other, half of the expenses. And also, I need to see a grief counselor. Actually, I need to work with a therapist that specializes in grief, because I have suffered, like I said, I'm not going to get into it, but there was a major loss in my family recently, and there was also a loss last year. So I do need to be working with someone also who specializes in grief, and I don't want to or need to stop seeing my current therapist. I mean, my current therapist literally knows my entire life story, and we've built that rapport. She knows me on a level that it takes time, to build that and have that sort of dynamic with the therapist where you feel like they get you in a sense, and you don't have to explain everything, because she understands my thought process, because we've been working together for a couple years now, and that's not going to be the case with another therapist. But if I'm seeing another therapist just strictly for one specific issue, I don't necessarily need them to understand my entire thought process the way that I would with my main therapist, you know what I mean? And that's just not an option. I think that the thing is like I said, I love my therapist, but grief is just not something that she is great at helping people, or I'm not gonna say people, because I mean, maybe it's just that her approach doesn't work for me, but she's been helpful with so many different issues. it's completely normal and valid to need more support than what you usually have. You know what I mean? And so that's just, it's really difficult. It's so, but also like I feel like even if I could see my current therapist more than once a week, it would still help, because I do feel like some of the barriers that we have just comes from the she was asking me basically what my diagnoses were, and I said that I had ADHD and OCD, and she had asked me like what my OCD symptoms were, and when I explained to her what my OCD symptoms were, she basically said, you can't have OCD because you're not, like, your compulsions aren't physical, and that rubbed me the wrong way because, okay, so with OCD, you don't have to be, it's very stereotypic for people to assume that in order to have OCD, you have to be, like, physically knocking on wood, or flicking the light switches, or, having to get up to check something a certain amount of times. A lot of people, their OCD just doesn't affect them in that way. It's like, it affects them in their head. Like, you might have to count to a certain number in your head every time you hear a certain word, or, it can be, there's still compulsions, but it's invisible, like, people aren't necessarily gonna know you're doing it. And also, when I was younger, it did start with physical compulsions. Nobody had any idea what was wrong with me at first. I remember being like 6 or 7 years old and just jumping on and off my bed 10 times. Every single night I had to jump on and off my bed 10 times, and I had to flick the light switch on and off 10 times. I had to, I just had all these different, like, rituals that I could not go to bed unless I did them. And I was actually lucky because I did get diagnosed with OCD fairly early on. Like, I didn't have to be that way and not know what was going on for too long. But my OCD was untreated up until I was probably around 18. So I dealt with OCD for a good 11 or 12 years before I got on an SSRI, and those physical compulsions calmed down. But also, as I grew up, my triggers started to be more complicated. I wouldn't feel relief, or it wouldn't ease my anxiety just to, like, knock on wood or flick the light switch, etc. It was all these, like, mental rituals that were so much more complicated, and so it just felt really invalidating for her to say basically that I didn't have OCD. And also, like, who are you to tell me that I don't have something when I was literally diagnosed with it by a psychiatrist? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that psychiatrists know more than therapists. I'm just saying, obviously, if that doctor made that diagnosis, then I met the criteria for that disorder. And if it was a misdiagnosis, then somebody would have figured that out by now. I'm not saying people can't be misdiagnosed with OCD, but most of the time it's actually, like, more of an opposite issue. Like, people who have OCD will be diagnosed with bipolar disorder, or sometimes even schizophrenia, and, like, more like paranoia type of disorders, because OCD can make you very paranoid, and it can actually get to the point where you are in, like, a psychosis. It can be debilitating, and like I said, a lot of people get diagnosed with other mental illnesses. I would say it's fairly rare that somebody gets diagnosed with OCD and it's something else. But like, just straight off the bat, without even knowing me or my history or anything, she tells me that I don't have OCD because I'm not, because my compulsions weren't physical. And I don't know, I just found that really strange. And throughout the time that we worked together, she was very inconsistent with the scheduling. Like, I would see her, and then she would make absolutely no attempt to schedule an appointment for the next week. So I would have to contact her and be like, hey, like, when can I see you again? And she'd be like, okay, I have an opening on this day, does that work? And that was just wasn't Zoom, it wasn't Skype. She used some kind of platform that it was the same link every single time, and she would never resend the same link or like highlight the previous message. So every single time I had a session with her, I had to scroll all the way back up and click on the link from the very first session. And she was very like rude. I don't know how to explain it. Like when I would talk to her about whatever I was feeling, it kind of just felt like she was judging me. Like for instance, I explained why I couldn't drive from the beginning. I explained, I have a medical condition that, makes it dangerous for me to drive. I don't personally feel comfortable driving because of this medical condition. It's not like I've been told, no, you can't drive, period. But, like, all things considered, none of my doctors would look at me and say, yeah, you should be on the road, you know what I mean? So, I was honest, I told her that, and because a lot of my issues have been with, just struggling to accept, like, my lack of independence for my age, you know what I mean? And so, that was talked about from time to time, and she would just be like, wait, why can't you drive? Why don't you have a driver's license? It would probably make a big difference if you could, go for a ride to clear your head, etc. And I'm like, no shit, Sherlock, but I told her already, and I was constantly having to reiterate that, and I felt like even though I explained it, like, hey, I have a painting condition, like, I get dizzy even when I'm sitting down, I don't feel like that's safe. It's like she was still kind of questioning me about it, like that wasn't a good enough answer for her to believe that, like, I was making the right decision by not driving. And it doesn't make sense to me because as many maniacs are on the road, like as many people that drive when they clearly should not be driving, you would think that, you would think that she would be more like, oh, that makes sense. Like, at least for once, someone isn't endangering innocent civilians just because they, want to do what they want to do because that's selfish, you know what I mean? But instead, she's like looking at me like, what? That don't even make sense. Why aren't you driving? I'm like, what do you mean? But, and also, like, when it came to family issues, because there's just me and my mom, me and my sister, me and my dad, there's just communication issues, and when I would talk about them, I don't feel like she was genuinely hearing me out. It was always like, you're probably being too aggressive, or you're, and there's nothing wrong with the therapist holding you accountable, but it was like she wasn't willing to understand why I was feeling upset or why I was feeling whatever type of way I was feeling about what was going on. It was always about, like, she was just always making comments about how she felt like I was being dishonest about how I was communicating. And, I don't know, and she was chronically ill herself also, so it was weird to me that she didn't understand a lot of what I talked about when it came to me dealing with my own chronic illness. But, yeah, I don't know. I think that she just let her own it was pretty obvious that she let her own personal biases get in the way a lot, which a therapist is never supposed to do. And I think I got her some slack personally because, when you're in the beginning, maybe you don't necessarily know that, but, and it's not even necessarily the issue wasn't that she was giving me her personal biases per se. It was the fact that she was thinking those things. You know what I mean? But yeah. And this therapist was also TikTok famous. TikTok famous. Famous on TikTok. And she was very, very active on TikTok. And I don't know, something just rubbed me the wrong way about it because she was always so inconsistent about the scheduling, like I said, but she was always posting TikToks, and it almost seemed like she was prioritizing her social media career over her career as a therapist because, you know, she just was not really making her clients any kind of priority. And this wasn't just me, because the therapist that, wait, where was I going with that? I did find out that that was just how she was in general with all of her clients, and I don't know, I thought it was just me at first, but also, in the beginning, I remember I had explained to her that telehealth was easier for me because, you know, with me being chronically ill and not being able to drive, etc., it wouldn't be the easiest thing for me to go to therapy every single week in person. Not that I wouldn't have made it work if that was my only option, but telehealth was just easier for me, especially with my insomnia, everything like that. And, you know, she was understanding about it at first, but I kid you not even a month into seeing her, I get a text message from her out of nowhere, and she's like, you know, I don't think I should see you anymore because you're just not really talking, and, you know, I feel like you would be better off seeing someone in person. And, like, mind you, I only had 1 or 2 sessions with her at this point. Like, you didn't even give me a chance to warm up to you, get to know you, you get to know me, break out of my shell a little bit before you're like, well, I'm just gonna send you to someone else. And also, my mom I think my mom emailed her or something, and she would respond to my mom, and this made me uncomfortable because when it comes to therapy, it's very, like, it's supposed to be at least very HIPAA compliant. When it comes to a therapist contacting people that you know, they are never supposed to do that unless you have, like, documented permission that they can talk to them, you know what I mean? And we never had that conversation. That was never sorted out, so she was not supposed to be responding to anybody else but me. Like, my therapist now, she would not respond to anybody else unless I know that for a fact because she's flat out said that. You know, like, you just don't do that. I don't have an issue with the fact that my mom was contacting her because sometimes I had overslept and, you know, I had messaged her to cancel the session. That rarely happened, but, so my mom would email her or whatever, and, you know, I don't even know, it was just a weird situation. You know, it's just like a lazy therapist type of situation, you know what I mean? It's not like they're horrible or, you know, anything like that per se. It's just, there are lazy therapists, you know? And in this day and age, when people don't necessarily use their day job as their main priority, there's a lot more lazy therapists out there. And, you know, I think that if you're gonna do social media full time, you should not work in healthcare. And that's just my opinion, because especially as a therapist, a doctor, things like that, because those people are relying on you to, you know, help them be able to live their lives. And if you can't be there for them and you can't help them and you're going to prioritize something else over that, then you don't need to be a therapist. also are a doctor or they also are a therapist, that automatically means that they're bad at their day job. I'm just saying, if you can't find a balance and you're automatically going to prioritize social media, then you don't need to be doing anything in healthcare. There's plenty of TikTok therapists and TikTok nurses and TikTok doctors that are phenomenal with patients, and it's not an issue for them. But like I said, for the people who don't know how to balance it, just don't. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's just my opinion on that. I can't believe I've been recording this for almost an hour. The sun's gonna be coming up soon. Y'all know how much I hate spring. I hate spring so much. Everybody hates daylight savings. I am one of the very few people that hate spring, I guess. Excuse me. Because I am up now. My insomnia is so much worse, especially since all this shit has happened. I am up till like 6 a.m. and literally, I mean, it gets light outside at 4:30 in the spring, and it's light outside until 9 p.m. So I don't even feel like I get the nighttime in the spring and the summer. Before all of the losses and just all of this dramatic stuff that's happened this past year, I was typically used to it around summer, just because I wasn't on that bad of a schedule, so it wasn't like I was up that late every night anyway. But now that I'm on this schedule, it's impossible for me to genuinely get any sleep when it's light outside before I even go to bed, and it's like, I'm not trying to stay up that late on purpose. I genuinely am completely nocturnal at this point, and I can't just go back to the way things were, because I mean, everything's different. Literally everything's different. So I can't expect to function the way that I once did. And I have tried. I've tried medication. I've tried, all the natural ways to reset your sleep schedule. I even saw a sleep specialist. And, it is what it is. At this point, I can't sit there and focus on, trying to get on a better sleep schedule right now, because things are just so bad and unstable. My focus is honestly just on taking it one moment at a time. Making sure I eat, making sure I shower, making sure I take care of myself. And yeah, I'm gonna try and make sure that I at least film some content, even if I'm not able to film in the usual location, or like, with the lights on, makeup on, and all of that. Which I'm an authentic person, like, I ain't out here. I was never out here going out of my way to look a certain way when I would film. I like to look nice, I usually would do my makeup to film just because I wanted to. It wasn't a matter of feeling like I had to look a certain way because I was filming. But things are just really, really difficult right now. And also, I have been getting acne every time I do my makeup, so I haven't been wearing any makeup for that reason too, because my skin is just, I'm always breaking out, and I don't know why, because I make sure that I use makeup that doesn't have pore clogging ingredients in it, and I also don't use dirty makeup sponges, I don't use dirty makeup brushes, I don't sleep with my makeup on, I don't use makeup wipes, I make sure I double cleanse, like I do everything right, but I still break out every time I wear makeup. I don't know why, that was never the case before. And the ironic thing about it is that when I was younger, specifically